Thanks, everybody. Thanks, Duff. I'm proud to present Duff Johnson, who is joining us remotely from the United States. Duff, we thank you for being up at quarter 6 in the morning, I believe.
Yes.
To
that was easy.
So thanks for getting up. Thanks for getting up early to introduce us all to the core concepts behind Next Generation PDF. With that, Duff, I'd like to turn it over to you.
Thanks very much, Matt. Well, obviously, as you can tell, I'm not in Berlin in person. I'm very sorry about that. I regret not seeing many of my friends and colleagues there and presenting this to you in person. And in fact, in sitting through many of the other sessions that are going on at PDF Days, which seems like a really exciting couple of days to me, and I'm just sorry I can't be there. It's unfortunate, but nonetheless unavoidable. So my intent in this presentation is to give you a high-level overview of some of the basic, not all, but some of the basic technology concepts at hand here in Next Generation PDF. There are a number of things under discussion, and some of those where I'm not going to talk about because, frankly, there's a great deal of work remaining to be done to understand precisely how we might approach these, and it seemed better probably not to touch on them. But I will go through some of the core concepts and obviously be delighted to take your questions. So the point here, I think, with Next Generation PDF, and this is the fundamental message that we're trying to convey with this technology, is that Next Generation PDF is intended to address the situation that has come to hand, where everybody understands very well. There are mobile devices and there are other devices in the world that benefit their users by consuming documents in ways other than a simple page image. And the most obvious example of this would be a phone, which is a very small form factor and requires the need to, if you're looking at a regular A4 or US letter sized PDF, you wind up pinching and panning and scrolling around. So let's get into it a little bit. This is the kind of problem that that Next Generation PDF, among others, is really trying to solve. So the first thing to talk about in talking about Next Generation PDF is really the technology that underlies it, that makes it possible, okay? And you're going to hear a lot about PDF 2.0 from other sessions. Peter Wyatt is going to present a keynote session in which he's going to walk you through a lot of the changes that the ISO working group has been enacting on PDF 2.0 since the 8 years since ISO 32000 Part 1 was published. And Part 2 is almost literally out the door. Peter and I are actually going over the final things at this time. And just as soon as we can deliver it to ISO, we will. We're literally down to normative references and things of this nature. So let's talk about a little bit. So PDF 2.0 coming really soon. I can't promise you a date. I can promise you it's going to be a matter of it's in the order of days or weeks rather than months or multiple months. ISO is committed to put this document out very, very soon. And so what about PDF 2.0 underlies Next Generation PDF? Well, there are a variety of features that have greater or lesser bearing on PDF on a Next Generation PDF, but among these, for sure, improved encryption, because PDF encryption has been significantly updated, and state-of-the-art digital signature technology permit PDF files to operate in environments where there's a great deal of control or other kinds of accountability required. These are, in a sense, orthogonal to the requirements of Next Generation PDF, but nonetheless are enabling, because there'd be situations, as I'll explain, where you want a viewer to be allowed to do certain kinds of things with a file, and these would be kind of things you want to have the provenance of the file well established. The unencrypted wrapper feature, a new feature in PDF 2.0, is of some interest in the Next Generation space. The ability to deliver a PDF document that's encrypted within a PDF document that isn't. This is notable in the security space because it allows one to provide, as it were, a cover letter for encrypted content. When it comes to Next Generation PDF, this is an opportunity to advise users that the file delivered has features that are something that would require them to have a next generation PDF capable viewer. There are a variety of other features in PDF 2.0 with greater or lesser significance with respect to next generation PDF. A lot of new capabilities for new types of media, which are very exciting from the point of view of those various communities that want to support 3D PDF, geospatial data in PDF files, and get a lot more value out of their controlled workflows that they're operating. So in this context, and knowing that PDF 2.0 is coming along, last year, the PDF Association's board of directors decided to start creating a couple of different groups to develop next generation PDF technology. One of these is a technical working group, which is developing a specification, and a marketing working group, which is analyzing the specification that gets developed and determining the kinds of features, how broadly the features apply or how vertically they apply. And then, of course, developing educational content that, as the specification moves along, we'll update and be able to hopefully be able to provide this sort of content once the specification is released to help developers and others do something with next generation PDF. These working groups are open to any member of the PDF Association. We encourage members to join these groups, to participate in the conversation, and to help drive the specification forward. So what is next generation PDF? Okay, so first and foremost, PDF documents that suit the user's device and preference. And this is really, you can imagine the mobile use case as being one of the sort of fundamental cases where this type of requirement is desperately needed. People want to have a small screen. They prefer to scroll in, frankly, one direction rather than multiple directions. It doesn't particularly help them that they have to pinch and zoom, although the very devices do accommodate that. And beyond the simple fact of being able to reliably view a PDF file and comfortably view in a mobile setting, it's also very interesting to people to be able to vary such features as text size and font. I know, I'm wearing these glasses after all. I know well that while I used to be able to readily read type of a certain size on a screen, I won't get into quite what that size is, that instead I want it a bit bigger today. Well, many websites don't provide me that kind of facility, and I think that the part of the idea of next generation PDF is that a user would be able to establish many of their own preferences for many different types of reasons. So, for example, a user might decide that they're not interested in the fonts that the publisher is serving up with this document. They quite like a font that mitigates dyslexia issues. They quite like a font, perhaps, which uses a different color contrast ratio with the background than is being presented in terms of the PDF file itself. And all these sorts of things become possible when you give the viewer the ability to manipulate the view of the content. So we're going to get to how that happens in a moment. So they want PDF. What else is PDF, next generation PDF? Content that may be easily and reliably reused. So as you can surmise from what I've suggested about a PDF file being expressed on a mobile device, the mode of that expression would, naturally enough, be HTML. And in that context, the content delivered in that way is very flexible, is the kind of thing that people are used to reusing. Systems, everything from search engines to copy and paste functionality, routinely are very comfortable in the HTML world. And beyond that, I mentioned this feature, or it was on the slide a while ago. Associated files are another aspect of PDF 2.0 that it could be important here. For example, it'd be possible to include data that would be the supporting data for a bar graph, and you can include that data in the PDF file, have it linked to the bar graph via structure element, and thus make it possible to provide to the user the facility to extract the data behind a particular graph by simply having the viewer being aware of the associated file relationship between the graph and the data, and then and making the obvious connection. PDF content, so I've mentioned these additional resources, data for a chart, a metadata schema, and so on within the document. These is enabled very much by the associated file feature. Requirements for next generation processors. A part of the next generation specification pertains to the content that must be present and in the PDF file itself. Another major feature of the specification are the requirements that to call yourself a next generation PDF processor, you will need to be able to do this, that, and the other thing with the content in a PDF file. Most notably, derive that content from PDF to HTML. We'll talk about that in a moment. So as I've implied earlier, PDF viewers may provide additional styling or dynamic resources. So you could imagine for yourself a PDF document where the viewer delivered the viewer in detecting let's say tables within the document. How to detect them? Well, properly, a next generation PDF would be well structured. So the content in the document, the tables, the headings, the lists, and so on, would be known to a processor. And by providing scripting and other resources in the viewer that are able to apply themselves generically to these various data structures, it would be possible to deliver a user experience in which the user, on viewing a table, has the opportunity to sort the table by different columns. Something that's obviously not possible to do in PDF today. What else is next generation PDF? The thing, so in a sense, apart from the technology, one of the things I feel is most important to emphasize about it is that it's specifically a technology being developed as a collaborative matter by the industry as a whole. As such, it's responding to a lot of different inputs from different vertical sectors of the marketplace. It's responding to a lot of different interests in terms of the particular developers who are paying attention to the process and getting involved with it. And of course, it's different because it's not owned by any particular organization. The specification belongs to the PDF Association, and although obviously some members contribute more than others, in general, the point here is very much that this is a specification generated and developed for the benefit of the industry and of the industry's users generally. So, what next generation PDF is not? Well, it's not really a new file format. It's fundamentally a set of rules for handling next generation PDF. So one could call it a file format, I suppose, but it's in a sense more of a subset. It's not a website in a can. Next generation PDF is not in any way an attempt to get away from the page, to get away from the concept of a document, to make any kind of an argument or case that there's something inherently about a website which makes it fundamentally the same thing as a document. Nope, next generation PDF is where PDF has always been, which is rooted in the idea of a portable, reliable document, goes everywhere, and offers everybody the same type of experience. Where next generation differs is that a variety of experiences available to the consumer of a next generation PDF vary. One option, of course, is to look at it would be the conventional document. Another option would be a reflowed version of that document that would operate on in all manner of devices, from a browser to a search engine to a screen reader to you name it. So it's also, and this is a question that I mention it because it comes up a great deal. Excuse me. Next generation is not an Adobe product or a technology. Adobe is, while a participant, Adobe is one of the great supporters of this technology. It is not actually, doesn't own it, and as I've said, this is very much a collaborative effort of those interested those members of the PDF Association who are interested in developing this idea, pushing it forward. So some of the core concepts, I've mentioned some of these previously. It's based on the latest ISO 32000 Part 2. Believe me, it's a little strange to see that 2017 appear after the -2 number. As a project leader, I've been waiting for a very long time to actually be able to put a year after that number, and finally that year is here. So core concepts, in addition, is based on PDF 2.0, and consistent with that, it's very much rooted in the concept of tagged PDF, which has undergone an enormous overhaul between PDF 1.7 and 2.0. The tag set has changed, the tag descriptions have changed, the attributes have, their descriptions have improved, the rules, I'll get into this actually a little bit. Namespaces permit various types of schemas to be introduced to manage tags. So for example, it would be possible to include MathML directly in the PDF or other kinds of markup languages by virtue of by simply tagging the content with those appropriate with the appropriate tags and introducing the namespace in order to allow a processor to distinguish between the conventional, the standard structure type set in PDF and other structure type sets that available from various namespaces. And of course, I mentioned associated files, which provide a processor the ability to use other information that's associated, that's actually embedded in the PDF file to provide additional resources to end users. So those are the file format kind of aspects of PDF, which as you can see, are basically a few additional rules for features that are standard features now of PDF 2.0. In terms of processor rules, and this is where I suppose a lot of the magic for a PDF 2.0 appear. We have this core concept of derivation. Okay, so take yourself a tagged PDF, and what does that really mean? You've got a lot of content on a page, and in those blocks of content in a semantic fashion are marked up for table and heading and list and the various other semantic possibilities that are out there. You're familiar with these with tags from HTML. Well, the tags in PDF are a relatively similar type of animal with some significant differences to recognize the fact that they're focused on documents rather than focused on web pages. In responsive PDF requires derivation from or makes it possible or establishes these rules for a consistent derivation or extraction of the content in a PDF file through essentially a model that allows one to reliably understand and represent these things on the other side, so that as HTML, different processors would get fundamentally similar results from the content that was derived from the PDF file. Processors might differ in the way they present the results because they would have, for example, custom. A viewer might deliver some CSS or use some CSS that the user selects to style this content. But at the end of the day, the content actually being delivered is the same text that was in the PDF, simply derived into an HTML. So this is along the same lines, the processor is expected to support open web platform technology in such content. So if the processor delivers, let's say some CSS, some JavaScript, something else for use in that file, or for use in that circumstance, then the processor is supposed to be able to handle that too. So tagged PDF and next generation PDF is a completely critical element. And the tagged PDF has so far been has been slow to take off in the PDF space historically, because PDF was rooted in the value proposition of PDF tended to be rooted in the idea of a static page image that was entirely reliable. And it's a great use case, and it's of course been the use case that drove tremendous success for PDF over the 25 years or so since the technology was invented. Tagged PDF is the business of extracting that content and redeploying it someplace else. And next generation PDF files are tagged PDF. So one of the first key thing to understand is that this isn't simply a question of taking a PDF file, running any old kind of automated tagger on it, and then figuring you've got a deliverable next generation PDF. There are certain quality standards to be required. It won't do anybody any good to repurpose a PDF file into an HTML document if the content is disordered, or if the semantics are not captured from the PDF file and then deployed in the HTML. So it's critical for the tags in next generation PDF to be in logical reading order, to be semantically appropriate, so we're not marking paragraphs as headings, and we're not marking tables as lists, and so on, and that we're distinguished from the artifacts on the page. So the running heads, for example, on a page, something that need to be suppressed generally speaking, not always, but generally speaking, when it comes to expressing the document in some other model. running heads interrupting the scrolling experience would detract from that experience quite significantly. So in PDF 2.0, as I've mentioned, tag PDF gets something of a major overhaul. The set of structure elements is rationalized and simplified. So there are, excuse me, a number of different, 13 in fact, elements that are removed from the tag set, the standard structure tag set in PDF 1.7, and then another 8 elements are added. And we believe that, you know, we've been around and around on this in the ISO committee, that in so doing, we've gotten rid of a lot of tags that had no particular valid meaning, and we have instead utilized a set that we think encompasses is number one, very, very general, and number two, encompasses a vast range of potential document semantic requirements that we were not fundamentally able to express before. So most of the tags that stuck around, the existing tags, even like paragraph and heading and so on, their description has been revised and improved and made clear. They're unambiguous. In PDF 1.7, it's kind of not clear a lot of the time whether it's okay to put this kind of tag structure element inside of that one, and all that's clarified in PDF 2.0 with an unambiguous matrix that describes the relationship between the various structure element types. So as a revised description, their attributes have been reviewed and revised. A new feature, pronunciation hints, has been added to make it possible for screen reader or other kind of text speech engines to deliver additional information about the way in which a particular word should be pronounced. And as I mentioned, namespaces to allow users to include a variety of tag sets from outside of the PDF world in a tag PDF file. So these namespaces, as I've mentioned, mechanism for identifying and exchanging structure types, and they're familiar to those who do a lot of work in the XML space. This is a pretty routine thing to exchange schemas to describe. Over here, we've got this company has metadata for their documents, and it's described in this schema, and over here another one. Put the schemas together and figure out the commonalities, and now you're learning something about how you can make these systems work together. So why is it useful here? Well, plenty of PDF documents are generated from documents that include many of their own rich structures. LaTeX would be a great example. And there are others that generate page content that's routinely deliverable. Chemistry, equations, even music. There are various markup languages for these things, and with the namespace feature, these actual structure elements that pertain to these features can be included directly into the PDF. So it makes it possible. So then these namespaces make it possible to include these rich structures, and therefore make it possible for the downstream viewers to be able to wake up and say, hey, I understand the metadata in this document. You're actually part of the accounting department over here. And this kind of thing is be very useful in the document management space and the various other spaces as well. So processors understanding these structure elements, and as I say, it'd be readily possible for an organization to have their own adaptation of a PDF viewer that was introducing particular namespaces, and then it was able to recognize them because their distributed viewer had a special relationship with those namespaces and was able to represent them. I've mentioned associated files a couple times. I'm not won't dwell on it too much, but the fundamental idea here is that you can include additional non-PDF data in a PDF file and associate it with semantic objects in the PDF, or not just semantic objects. The PDF as a whole, a page of the PDF, structure elements or graphic, and so on. These files are, so as I've said, and I gave a couple examples, they make it possible to provide information in a way where it's directly associated with a structure element or other content, and thus extractable or usable by some processor that understands it. And what are those associations? Well, you can have a source data, or source information. In fact, OpenOffice for, I don't know, perhaps 10 years has routinely included the Word file, or the doc, I should say, the doc file that the software used. It routinely offered the option of including it as an attachment to the PDF generated out of the software. And that kind of capability is not particularly important from a next generation PDF point of view, but from it exemplifies the kind of capabilities that associated files can deliver. So as I said, probably from a next generation point of view, the data association is very useful to be able to provide background or extractable information for a given graph, or tabular data, or a set of structured concepts, and so on. Alternative representations, supplements, schemas I've mentioned, and form data is also a possibility. I also mentioned encrypted payload. So there are a variety in combination with each other or as individual elements. The world of associated files, so to speak, is as rich as any particular application needs it to be. So there are lots of possibilities for the private and public use of data that would be associated with a given document and deployable in this context. So about the processors, what do we require of them in some significant way? A next generation PDF processor, number one, is first and foremost responsible for being able to derive HTML from a tagged PDF using a standardized model. And this is probably the heart of next generation PDF, is the idea of this derivation algorithm. The need for this was evident in the sense that there are all kinds of ways to process tagged PDF, but in order to deliver a completely consistent experience, you tend to want the processors to do relatively similar things when they encounter a variety of circumstances. Particular circumstances, and the whole point of the standardized derivation algorithm is to improve the predictability and interoperability of the HTML that is derived from a PDF file for the purposes of displaying to, well, I should say representing it to a user on a mobile device or a tablet, for the purpose of representing it perhaps to a search engine, which would discover that it had all kinds of semantics available to it and had a lot less search errors associated with it. I think I mentioned that a little bit later on. So styling derived from PDF fonts and layout. This is also something that's part of the next generation PDF concept. Is that styling can be developed from the document from which it came, and the viewer may deliver additional CSS or other technologies in order to augment the presentation of that content yet further. So there have been tools on the marketplace already for some time that have been delivering similar kinds of functionality to this, in which a PDF was expressible through HTML and then could be set up and managed with different CSS elements. And many of the folks who've been developing these tools are actually part of the next generation PDF technical working group as active members, and this is their experience in the field is invaluable in terms of developing this content. So dynamic features, so the viewer can produce these features in response to the data structures that it encounters in the document or the associated files themselves. As I mentioned, one of the sort of most obvious ones that comes to my mind straight away is a piece of some script that would allow the user to have an interactive relationship with tabular data in a PDF file. But there are many options. So because one has the full semantics and reliably has the full semantics of the document available, it becomes possible to, for example, develop a table of contents, a dynamic table of contents for the document based upon extracting the structure elements. Or let's say you didn't want a table of contents, but you wanted a list of figures, right? Or a list of tables, and you wanted particular highlighting or other features for those tables when you encountered them. All these things become possible when the processor is paying significant attention to the semantics that have been established in the document by the tagging process. So open web platform support, once we have HTML and the viewer has this HTML from the PDF file, it then has the full world of open web platform technologies available to it to provide various additional features as I've implied to the end user. CSS and JavaScript are some of the most obvious ones. Media query, another. ARIA for rich interactive support for accessibility. Many different W3C technologies with a variety of applications in this kind of space. And part of the responsive PDF concept is that we want to make sure that that door is open to these technologies, and so that developers of web content technologies feel comfortable in thinking about how it is that what are they going to do when they have themselves a PDF, which they now can relatively easily express as HTML, and do so in a atomic document context. What are their options? So if we wanted to make sure that we were able to assure the developer, HTML and open web platform developers, that they had the full range of open web platform technologies available to them in this setting. So any software can support next generation PDF. There's as I've mentioned, the classic vision here is a phone in which I can simply scroll through a long document, or accommodate the fact of a document that includes a layout that is problematic to read on a small device. But I think it's just as important to notice all the other possibilities in terms of consumption, because responsive the idea of having next generation PDF can create a responsive environment for PDF technology and in many different settings for many different purposes. So browsers already support the page description version of PDF, as it might be termed, relatively uniformly. What they don't do yet is support many of the other features. Well, browser developers are very interested in doing things that pertain to HTML, of course. So if provided with a consistent industry standardized means of creating HTML from a PDF file, it seems reasonable that browsers, if they chose to, browser developers could support next generation PDF and provide the benefits of that type of experience to browser users as well. I've already mentioned mobile viewers. The software is an obvious first target for next generation PDF technology. Desktop viewers, probably less important from the point of view of scrolling, of being able to, for example, scroll through information. But on the other hand, lots of other possibilities. So the ability to display the content in particular ways, to access, to be able to use some of the various other features that are available to it in PDF 2.0, to be able to provide specific functionality in a desktop context, because a company chose to enable a certain kind of support for some certain associated file type in the software that they're distributing, and so on. Lots of possibilities there. Search engines today suffer under some significant issues when searching PDF files, because most PDF files aren't tagged. And because when the tagged ones are usually relatively poorly tagged, search engines don't really concern themselves too much about the semantic information that's available in PDF files at this time. So while one might typically expect that a search engine would examine a document and notice the headings, and would tend to increase the search results that included terms used in the headings, because it's a fairly natural idea that the heading indicates the content of the document. It's something that's done routinely with HTML now, but not so much with PDF. Next generation PDF would tend to promote that type of utilization, so that the weighting of search results will be substantially improved. There's another well-tagged PDF will defeat another kind of problem that happens with search engines routinely these days, which is the case of where content streams do not follow the logical ordering. Paragraphs can end in the middle of a sentence and then start again a couple pages later. There's frequently a sentence break between one page in the next page of a given document. Even a word break, it can happen in those contexts. And most software these days fundamentally have to lose that content that's happening in that gap. If they use tag PDF, and next generation PDF should give them a lot more impetus to do that, then those kinds of problems will tend to go away. I've mentioned content and document management systems will be able to take advantage of metadata schemas that are deployed in PDF documents, so that when corporates exchange documents, they have a easier capability, they have an easier way to perhaps file them or otherwise manage this content, set security permissions, and so on. And last on this list, but by no means least, assistive technology, those technologies that deliver content in a way that's suitable to the end user, be that in a voice through a screen reader, through a refreshable braille display, another popular type of viewer for blind users, be it in the case of simply enlarged type, so that older users, such as frankly myself, have an easier time reading 8-point type. I'd quite like that 8-point type to be 10-point, please, and in a next generation PDF viewer that was sufficiently capable, I'll be able to manage the various font sizes that were being delivered to me in that HTML view, and still always have the reliability of know that standard PDF will always print the same way, and it's still there. What I'm looking at is something that's been derived from that PDF. So just to cover a few use cases here, the PDF experience on mobile. As we know, the biggest complaint about, and I've been through some of this already, but the biggest complaint about PDF in the mobile context is this business about how do you get around the file and actually make it readable at a basic level. Everybody loathes just swiping and pinching and zooming and panning on a phone to read a document, but it goes beyond that. Navigation becomes very problematic. Both attempting to read a PDF document on a phone and navigate that document it can be tremendously painful. This real estate is limited. The bookmarks model, the outline model is very simplistic, and so it's not really. These things are amenable to much richer techniques, and these techniques would be. We want to open the door so that developers, viewers, and others are able to deliver these sort of more advanced techniques for navigation and viewing right out of the box with a properly tagged response next generation PDF file. So we want navigation features. We want appearance, to be enhanced. So printable pages aren't just today they're not mobile friendly. They're not user adjustable. And we want to change that generically so that everybody understands that that with a PDF you have essentially one context, which is the good old reliable PDF. You have it prints out. It's always, everybody can refer to the same fundamental content. And in the other context, a PDF, that same document, but expressed in a way that makes it a pleasure to read or to consume on a variety of different devices. So I mentioned the search issue, inconsistent and missed hits is also likewise a problem with mobile, and of course it's interactivity. PDF page content doesn't have a lot of life to it, and these are the kinds of things that viewer technologies, as I've mentioned, would be able to bring various kinds of JavaScript or other active technology to help enliven that PDF, make its content more extractable, create better navigation, and so on. So on mobile devices, we would expect to see next generation PDF make it possible to easily derive and reflow PDF into HTML. So we would hope that once this is well adopted, there's no more pinching and panning. Nobody anymore would have a reason to hate the PDF experience on a mobile device. In fact, you'd like your experience because whichever type of usage that's appropriate to you at that time. You're on your phone, you get the HTML version, but maybe your tablet, you prefer the PDF, right? This is all if these things are both available to you at the same time, then you're really in the best of both worlds as far as that goes. So, as I've mentioned, next generation PDF viewers derive the various kinds of document structure elements from the PDF and can provide navigation that's optimized for the device or optimized for the document. If it's a very long document with very complex navigation, it might make a much bigger deal of it and provide that navigation in some clever means at the top of the page, and so it never goes away. Possibly if it's a shorter document, it wouldn't display, heading-based navigation at all. All kinds of possibilities. Really, as I've said, the idea here is to create a technology that in which the door is fundamentally open, and developers can have a really wide gamut of possibilities available to them. And when they begin to think about PDF outside of the page, the limits, shall we say, of the page. So HTML can be styled by the CSS to provide rich user preferences in their preferred device optimized context. Search should work in a next generation PDF as well as it works in any HTML page. There'd be no more excuse, so to speak, for that. Those page breaks, those content stream breaks or differences from logical structure, they would no longer pertain to search, and you get a very rich, in fact, search experience because your documents were of high quality and the semantics were, as possible, include semantics in that search result. So, accessibility, one of the big drivers for next generation PDF is the subject of accessibility. There's marketplace pressure for it, but there's also, should we say, regulatory pressure for accessibility. So there's governments all over the world are adopting accessibility requirements in order to develop a level playing field for their citizens. The idea is that everybody has the access. Everybody should have access to a public government document, irrespective of your ability to read 8-point Futura. Right? That shouldn't be really a barrier to your right or ability to access the document. And next generation PDF is really, among its other features, it's precisely what the doctor ordered in terms of being able to deliver PDF files that are accessible to end users. The governments are not just requiring accessible documents for their own content. That would be the Section 508 kind of requirement in the United States, where government agencies and contractors are required to deliver accessible content. But increasingly, we're seeing, certainly in the United States, and I know this is in Canada and Ontario with AODA as well, and in other places, the ongoing trend is to require that all businesses, particularly businesses that deliver so-called critical communications, banks and bank statements, mortgage statements, benefits, statements of coverage from insurance companies, and so on. These business to consumer communications are increasingly being required to be accessible as well. Given that so many users are increasingly accessing documents from a phone and not even from a desktop or other type of device at all, but in fact their entire interaction is on the phone, one can readily see that that for these users, the next generation PDF is really going to be fundamental to the way that they experience these critical documents that come into their lives every day. And so we believe that once this technology is available to developers of these very large-scale systems that generate Social Security statements and banking information and mortgages and so on, we believe that this will become a major draw for them as a facility to deliver this content in a way that is friendly to those users who actually never touch a desktop machine in their lives, which I think is now it's significant double digits in terms of the the population. So we wanted to take this approach in part because assistive technology these days doesn't properly support PDF and may never really deliberately support PDF beyond much more than it does today. A lot of these guys are developers of assistive technologies, have been focused on the world of HTML because that's where the vast majority of content is that their users are asking to read. And because the PDFs, and that's part of it, but the other part is the PDF specification has been, thus far, has been just a bit too vague and fuzzy to be able to generate reliable results in terms of HTML extraction. And this is one of the reasons why I say PDF 2.0 is so fundamental to the value proposition of next generation PDF, because tagged PDF has been massively overhauled to the point where we believe it's something that could be implemented with a great deal of consistency, and that users should be able to get a far more a far better experience fundamentally at the end of the day from a wider range of documents from the new PDF 2.0 version of Tag PDF. So government agencies aren't about to drop PDF. They can't. They need a document, and so far there's no such thing as a document really in the HTML world. You know, it's sort of the irreducible, one of the irreducible value propositions of PDF is it's a complete object that can be shared and it can be reliably shared. Next generation PDF gives them both. The point here with next generation is that it's still that PDF, still your, as it were, your grandfather's PDF. But it is more than that. It's a document that operates in a variety of contexts and doesn't give users any particular reason to hate the format. So while the regulations, and so WCAG 2.0 level AA is a performance benchmark for the vast majority of these government regulations out there. Far better applied to HTML than to PDF for a variety of technical reasons. The WCAG specification is fundamentally rooted in web technology. There's nothing wrong with that, but it does make it problematic to a degree in terms of applying it to PDF. If PDF is expressible in this fashion, in this derived fashion, then it becomes a lot easier to think about how to apply these regulations, and that's a kind of smoothing the path thing that really helps in terms of getting adoption going. So as I've said, boy, I just talked about the slide before I displayed it, I guess. But so we consume for assistive technology, we can consume next generation PDF much as it would consume HTML. What's necessary is a PDF processor that runs the next generation PDF algorithm. So your document is fundamentally, at the end of the day, it becomes a page, and browsers understand web pages, and where they understand PDF pages a lot less. So governments need not give up on PDF. PDF is here to stay. It's one of the very few technologies that can be reliably seen to be continuing to increase in mind share over time. On Google Trends, there are more and more PDF files in the world every year, and there are more and more users searching for PDF files as compared to all other searches every year, year in, year out. So side benefit, I've mentioned searching PDF files. I'm guessing I'm running a little low time here. Yeah, I should get moving. Oh, wow, I'm almost out of time. So it's a poor experience, and next generation PDF can help with that by delivering by establishing logical order, ensuring that real content and artifacts are well distinguished, so you're not confusing page heads, running heads with the body content, and that you're leveraging the heading, paragraph, table, and other tags for better results. So, short version: next generation PDF means mobile-friendly representations, improved navigation, and better search results. Interactive smart objects, so that tables and other charts and so on can become alive and more interactive based upon the scripts that viewers supply. And associated files can be leveraged for the purposes of extraction and other kinds of features of this type. So that would be next generation PDF. You can participate in this effort to develop it, to think about next generation PDF yourself. Join the PDF if you're not already. If you are a member of the PDF Association, many of you I know are. You can join the relevant technical working group or marketing working group. Send me an email, ask me any question you want. Be delighted to talk to you about it. You can also, of course, participate directly in PDF and ISO standards development. But we invite you to play a part in the conversation. Help us develop these technologies. Help us bring them to the market, and help drive PDF into the next generation. So thanks very much for your time. And if there is time for a question, that's great. If there's not, I understand that too.
Well, thank you, Duff.
Thank you for that, Duff. Unfortunately, we're out of time. We'll not be able to take any questions at this point, but Duff, we do want to say thank you for joining us way too early and giving us some information about the core concepts behind the next generation of PDF. Thanks, Duff.
Thanks, Matt. Everybody, I hope you have a great time.